Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
So, welcome to this episode of Touched and Empowered. And for those who are watching the video, rarely you are seeing Katie without her glasses, but Ace was just being cousin it. And I think she needs to explain why.
I want to talk about the fabulous cousin it that we're talking about here.
We're talking about a very stylish cousin it who has hair that just goes on for days.
Oh, for days. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this Wednesday, we know I chant, right? So I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and I practice with SGI. And we have what we call a tozo, which means you chant for a long time. And Wednesdays, people open their house in the area that I live in to do 2 hours from like 10 to 12, and then another 2 hours from 1 to 3, right? So I'm like, I need to break through things in my life. I need to change some stuff. Let me just do the 4 hours. At least I won't be alone, and I'll feel encouraged just to keep going, right?
Yep.
So I go. The next day, my calendar's clear. There's like nothing there, no appointments, nothing. I'm like, all right, whatever. I go to another Tozo in the morning at 8:30 a.m., finish at 9:30, and somebody asks, like, hey, does anyone want to do a hike? And I'm like, yeah, I have nothing today. Might as well. I go home, I start working on a presentation that I know I'm going to be done with by 2:30. I finish at 2:30. I go on this hike. Then I have a client book me for 3 o'clock, for 5 o'clock, right? Right before the hike. I'm going on the hike. The person who's on the hike with me is like, hey, you have amazing hair. Would you be open to hair modeling tonight? I know it's last minute, but you're going to get paid. And I'm like, sure. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I also have a meeting at all right, this is the rest of my day. We finish that 4 o'clock. I go home and I shower with the Nick Chavez. This is what I'm hair modeling, right? The Nick Chavez like shampoo, which is like super good at like clearing out any buildup in your hair. Hence why this is just voluminously interesting. Right? I'm like, wow, look at this. So much volume. And all I had to do was blow dry my hair first, and then he styled it. But so 4 o'clock, I shower, do my thing. 5 o'clock, I do my client appointment. 5:30, I travel to go get my hair finished. Then I get it done at 6:20. 6:20, I get driven to a Buddhist center because I'm going to go meet some friends who also are interested in Buddhism. And then from 6:20 till 8 o'clock, I'm with them, coordinating with like a few friends, just figuring out what they're why they're interested in Buddhism. And it was really encouraging and really amazing. Then at that 8 o'clock mark, I like literally schedule a lift to pick me up so I can get to this guy's place who is hosting this live to Australia at 8:30. So I get to his place by 8:11. He finishes touching me up. I get there at 8:30. Bam, lights are on. Model for an hour, go home. And ladies and gentlemen, this was from yesterday. All this hair, all this voluminous. I already have a lot of hair. I can't believe how much more hair you could possibly have with the products that Robbie
because it looks like you literally have twice as much thickness,
right,
as what you normally have.
And I already have like just a mat of hair.
Here's me here with just my little ponytail, and I'm like, damn, I don't have that much hair.
You have a unicorn horn.
That's true. I do have a unicorn horn. But I'm just saying, if we were playing the comparison card, which we're not going to play the comparison card, but what I do know is that there is it was an obvious difference.
Yeah.
Seeing you on our Zoom call today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to shout out Robbie LaRiviere, wonderful, wonderful man who did this beautiful job and asked me last minute to do the hair modeling gig, which I really appreciate. It was really fun. It was fascinating. So he was actually going live to Australia to talk about these products. And no wonder they sell out in seconds. Look at this. Look at all this volume. Holy Java.
I'm assuming if there is a link, we're gonna put it in the show notes for people.
Absolutely. And I'll also link Robbie's Instagram on here as well, because my goodness
Awesome.
gracious. Yeah, Nick Chavez was his mentor in hair. And rest in peace. Like Robbie is really doing an incredible job of honoring his mentor by doing all of this international, like this is what he did, what he created, and him being that spokesperson. So hats off to Robbie.
Hats off to anyone who follows in the footsteps of their mentor who is no longer here on this planet and continuing the work, because those are huge shoes to fill, emotionally, physically, talently, whichever way you want to put it. And it's really hard work to try and live up to that expectation that's set from such a powerful mentor. So definitely kudos to him.
100%. Bravo, bravo. Seriously.
Little golf clap, yes.
Golf clap. I literally, it was so funny because normally when I go to this Buddhist center, I'm like usually in sweats, maybe pants. Like I'm not really doing too much here, right? But I had to be prepped and ready before going live. So I get there and somebody's like, "Oh, I didn't recognize you. I'm sorry." I'm like, "Yeah, this is 3.5 hours of chanting."
The power of chanting. If it doesn't make your hair voluminous, it gets you the gig that pays you to make your hair voluminous.
Woohoo! And I was telling Katie before we got on today, of course we're trying to figure out what we're gonna record, and I was just like, there's so much here that we can talk about in that one experience of just like, what's funny is like there's this thing called it's in a bunch of song lyrics of like stay prayed up.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, this works.
Yeah, and it's about having yourself in that feeling of abundance.
Yeah,
causes abundance to show up. It causes opportunities to show up.
Or apparently you've already had the abundance, and like it's just how you work it.
It's how you work it.
I'm so sorry. I'm like the type of person that doesn't normally like. I do my hair. Sometimes I do my hair on here. But I don't get my hair done like this. So it does create.
Yeah, doing a high quality styling, whether you are doing it for a job or whether you are treating yourself and going to the salon and getting your hair done for a special date or a special event or something like that, it is very empowering to feel that special.
Yeah.
Because it feels special because it's more than our everyday routine.
Right? It's like that self-love thing is, it's not just like bath bombs and whatnot. It's like really bringing your energy up to that level of like, I am beautiful today, and this is what I've done with what I have. And it just feels that much more beautiful because it really is you. You've just taken care of that self-loving you.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, for me, for example, I've never been big on going to get my hair done or anything else like that, but I always feel better after I actually go get it cut. Just a simple cut, nothing fancy or anything else like that, but I always feel better afterwards. Just like when I actually do spend the time and go shopping for a nice outfit instead of just buying something that I know is going to fit.
Yeah, there's an attunement actually when you cut your hair. So your hair, ladies and gentlemen, holds energy.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it actually holds a lot of energy. So the funny thing is, like, I remember I was living in this apartment. Hats off to anyone who's ever done this. That was really haunted.
Oh, fun space.
It was really haunted, and I didn't know. We got the place, we were immediately approved. It was the pandemic, so I was assuming that was the reason why. No, that wasn't the reason why. I was like, this is a great deal for the space that we have. Why? I find out later from my neighbors that somebody was actually murdered, like maliciously, in my apartment. So
That does tend to leave a little bit of negative energy behind.
Just a little bit. I did have black stuff come out of my sink twice, like before I found out, which was like, oh, that's gross. Whatever. No, that's not just why, right? And like we lived there for almost close to 2 years, and I just like I was like, you know what, I chant. It'll be okay. We'll just keep chanting. Yeah, yeah. There were other things that were happening as well that were bringing in really weird energy. And it's LA. And if you have any public presence, no matter what you do, like those energies kind of increase. Like it's like new levels, new devils type of energy, right? So I'm like, I was just like, oh, okay, what's fine, whatever. Like, and I didn't cut my hair that year. Key point. Didn't cut my hair that year. So I moved to this new place. And I'm like, I gotta cut my hair. I don't know why, but I'm gonna cut my hair. We're just gonna chop it. And we do. It's like about yay high. This is where we actually
so chop it to the chin. Got it.
My hair, when you have this much hair, it actually like sheds all the time. We can't help it. My sisters and I, we find it everywhere. Like when I had roommates, all they would do is go.
Yeah, the random hair in the mouth that just comes from somewhere. Mine is randomly stuck in my glasses from somewhere.
Exactly. They would, and just like that face of like, how did you just where did this come from? And that would be my hair and my sister's hair. It's great. Right. So when I got to this new place, before I cut it off, it would shed in the shower. And then I would come home and there's all these flies and just like that wasn't there before, like all these weird things just in my home. And I'm like, oh, it's really interesting. Why is that there? I get the hair cut. I come back. I clean out all this hair that's been everywhere. And no flies, no nothing. It was that energy was stored, like the malignant, like murderous energy was stored in my hair at the time. Can you believe that? And like,
I would have never considered that before, but it makes sense because your hair is a living, breathing component of you.
Yep.
And anything that has a living and breathing component receives and sends out and rejects energy with other living, breathing components.
Exactly. So can you believe it? So once I cut, like if for everybody out there, here's a fun transformational tip. If you are ready to go into the next stage of your life, or if you are ready to, let's say, like end an old cycle, either cut your hair if it's really long,
right,
or get it really well done by a great professional. Those two things will actually transform the energy in your everyday from that moment on.
And that makes sense. I mean, I can remember going years without cutting my hair. And then all of a sudden I'd get it chopped off, and it, besides the weight on my head being lighter, it just seemed like everything around me was lighter. I never attuned it to anything more than I just feel lighter because I don't have as much weight on my head.
Physically, yeah.
Physically. But it, since all of this self-development, self-healing, self-awareness, and all this other awareness, it makes sense. But if you already have short hair, don't shave your head.
I mean, you can if you want, but you can like
okay, yeah, you can if you want, but there might be other things that you can do to help remove that quote unquote dead weight just by getting it trimmed and styled really, really nicely.
Exactly. Trimmed, styled really nicely. A hair mask. I actually, all right, ladies and gentlemen, whoever wants to take this idea from me, fine. Because this is a really good idea.
Take it and run with it.
If I don't make money on it, at least the world will be a better place. So the idea is basically get crystal infused hair masks, right?
Okay.
To increase the frequency of your hair. So if you take a hair mask that you put, and if anybody knows what a hair mask is, essentially it's like a conditioner that you leave on for more than when you usually
5 minutes.
More than 5 minutes, like 15, 20 minutes. If you're really going for it, maybe 4 hours. I don't know who does that, but whatever. If you do that, Um, essentially, if you have frequency infused, like if you have like a amethyst or a amethyst or citrine, those two crystals I know are self-cleansing. If you use anything else, it's a little bit different. You might go for the intention that you put in that crystal will be very different than just increasing the frequency, cleansing the energy. And if you put those two stones infused in a hair balm and you put it on your hair, you will increase the frequency of your hair.
And this does not mean submerge the crystals in whatever hair balm it is you bought at the store.
Yes, because we don't want you accidentally putting like crystals into your scalp, because that might, I don't know the scientific effects of that, but like just be very careful.
Well, it also might damage the crystals. So
You.
it's the
Yes.
there are ways to infuse the energy from crystals into other products, whether it be infusing the water you drink, whether it be a hair mask or other kinds of skincare products. There are ways to infuse the energy of the crystals without actually putting the crystals in that product, because some crystals are not meant to be digested.
Right, but they can be put into candles apparently. So
Yes.
so folks, let's talk about crystals and why people are always like, that sounds like some woo woo type of
That's
thing.
some witchy stuff.
Sure. But they're also naturally from the earth. So there's something
Yes.
about that. The fact that they're actually practically realistic from the earth. From Lee. Yes. And the fact of the matter is, so if you actually look at the polarization charts of crystals, I did a lot of research into this. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you know I am a nerd. I'm not just youthfully just out there, but like because I I actually enjoy facts.
We actually are nerds and dorks and everything else like that when it comes to what we're talking about, because we're passionate about it.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, like, I've always believed this, and it was said during a TED talk once upon a time, that like our brains just reaffirm what we're feeling.
That makes sense.
Thank you. If it's the other way around, things get a little wonky,
Yeah.
a little strange, just a little AI dystopian, but it's okay. We'll come back to the heart here. Back to the crystals. So crystals, when they're polarized, they actually look like this.
There are crystals that have the structure of the mosaic that you have on your wall. Yes.
Yes. So the poles are very identically and parallel to each other. So you'll have an electric node, and like the nodes are actually perfectly aligned within a crystal, and that's actually the structure of it. So because of that, a crystal can have an electric pulse, hence why the energy is different. And when a crystal is in a room, it actually polarizes the energy, the electric elements in the air, to shift the energy into a specific frequency. And that's why the crystals work. It's not necessarily because, oh, look, there's a crystal, woo woo, it has intention and magic stuff. No, it's a scientific basis. Like it actually works because it polarizes.
Which is one of the reasons why, if you have a collection of 100 crystals and you have them all in a shoebox, walking into that room feels like you're walking into a room with 30 radio stations playing all on a slightly different frequency.
Yes. Also, yes. This is why people talk about gridding your crystals.
Yes.
If you grid your crystals in the correct way, you will actually create a very wonderful frequency within a room. Another thing is certain crystals cancel out the other crystal.
It's like certain noises cancel out other noises.
Exactly. And like if you have them in the same room or near each other, they don't affect you. Like it just
it's like they're not there.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much. And so that's one of the fun things that I've been playing with crystals for a while. And to the point as to where I finally dug, that's why I made the radio signal reference, because I actually found my box of crystals that were packed away from like high school and opened the box, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of noisy. So
Yeah.
working on separating them all. Each one is getting their own special cleansing, repurposing ritual. So then that way everything can be attuned back the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because like, all right, so when I first moved to the new place that I'm in, right? The woman that lived here, she had crystals. They were everywhere. So I was like vacuuming and going through the rooms, and I would find these little tiny like beads for crystals for a bracelet, right?
Oh, okay.
Bracelet broke.
Right.
Found them in different parts of the room that were really, really dirty because they weren't cleansed. So the cleansing, like I actually don't know if this part is magic, but hey, it works, whatever. Like if you sage a crystal or you keep a crystal out in moonlight, or you put your crystals like in seawater, it cleanses the energies of the crystal.
Okay. Seawater, be cautious with because some crystals react badly to water and to salt.
Selenite.
Yes.
But it already cleanses itself, so you don't have to worry about it.
So selenite cleanses itself, so you don't have to worry about it. But that's why you want to research whatever crystals it is that you are looking at, which ones you were gifted, which ones you already have, because there are so many different properties. But yes, moonlight is probably the easiest and the friendliest to all crystals.
Yes. Malachite. If you ever have malachite in your home, ladies and gentlemen, this is a pro tip. You cleanse the crud out of that.
Because it absorbs everything.
Everything. Not only does it absorb everything, it could become a poisonous crystal in your home if it's not cleansed. I had a friend have this giant malachite heart stone thing on his chest. And I remember him walking around and going and just like not really understanding why he was feeling the way he was feeling, but he looked like he was all over the place. And I was just like, yeah, that hasn't been cleansed. Where have you been wearing that? And like, it's funny because sometimes you'll induce more toxins as well without noticing it if you don't cleanse those crystals.
Right. I mean, and they're like, for example, malachite, it's really good at absorbing negativity around you. But if you don't cleanse it, guess where it sits? It sits in that stone that you are wearing around your neck up against your skin. And it will eventually be overflowing. And where's it going to go? It's going to go through your skin and into you.
Yeah, and it's a powerful crystal. So the thing
Yes.
about malachite, I was in a malachite waterfall.
Oh no, that must have been really pretty.
It was beautiful. So the malachite crystal was actually within the stones of the waterfall, and it was in Costa Rica. The waterfall was actually called malachite. And the moment I looked at that, I went, "Uh-oh." Like, no, don't get me wrong, the water was clear, everything was clean, the energy of the land was very
Harmonious.
harmonious and beautiful, and I really appreciated it. Malachite, if you look up the definition, is a type of stone that transforms the crud out of you. Like it's like it takes you into the trajectory of your soul's mission in your life, but it doesn't necessarily do it in the sweetest way.
It can be blunt.
Blunt is funny. Blunt to me is like, oh, direct blunt. No, it's like, no, you're not moving now until you do until like you face the challenge that you haven't been facing for 80 years. Like you're gonna 80 years. Wow, whoever's on this planet for 80 years. For like that you've been like 80% of your life that you've been trying to like ignore. Yeah, can't do it now because it'll just like make you do it. It'll put you everywhere, put the freaking stops everywhere just to make sure that the last 4 weeks, Katie, thank goodness I chant because oh my gosh, otherwise I don't know how the heck I overcame all the things that I overcame in the past like 4 weeks. Like remember my back.
We have been on a roller coaster of so many crazy energies and crazy opportunities and crazy experiences that it's one of those things that I'm woohoo, I'm along for the ride. I'm just I'm just gonna flow
Hey.
with it, because if I try to predict what's gonna happen, it always goes in the opposite direction anyways. So I'm giving up trying to predict my future, and I'm just gonna go with the flow.
Brilliant. I honestly thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna say right now, I wish more people did that. Also, I don't.
It's
I
difficult to do that if you don't realize that sometimes you could just get in your own way.
fair. And there's a lot that we've been taught that gets us in our own way. For like, so what I was mentioning, holy heaven, yeah, everything was crazy the last 4 weeks or whatnot. I've dealt with back pain, family members passing. I've dealt with like financial stresses, as most of America is right now. I'm actually looking for, if you look at the census, apparently like everyone's behind on their payments in the United States. I honestly believe we need another stimulus. But with that being said, what is really fascinating about that aspect of it all is I've given up on predicting all of that,
Mm-hmm.
but I do still have foresight to understand if my decision, if I create a specific decision, it will have a specific cause. That makes sense to me.
Yes. And it's one of those that I've made the decision as to what I do, for example. Is this going to become an income producing activity? Like, for example, scheduling social media posts to go out every week for the Teen Suicide Prevention Society can be a income producing activity because it brings awareness and people make donations. Me scrolling through social media because I went down the rabbit hole because one video was funny and it led to another video and it led to another video. Yeah, that's not income producing activities. So, yeah, trying to minimize that kind of stuff and focus on just what needs to be focused on.
That's actually a really cool thing. I learned something about that recently. Um, oh, I had something I wanted to say too. Let me add that in as well. For instance, the here and now. If I decide to leave my vacuum cleaner, the long part of it on the floor where somebody can trip,
Right.
someone's going to trip.
True.
That's yeah, that many foresight, but being able to clear it out and declutter and make sure that pathways are open, people are safe.
And we can apply that to all aspects, just like whether it is an income producing. Well, this
Exactly.
an income, I'm just using income as a word. It could be just, is this activity moving me closer to what I want and further away from what I don't want? Kind of
Exactly.
activity.
Yeah. So like Katie was mentioning, income producing activities. So fun facts, try this, ladies and gentlemen, when you get a chance. I actually did this and it helps. And it does become a part of the coaching process. So take your day hour by hour, like your average day every day, why not? And then put in your activities per time slot or however long you do it. From there, see if it's actually going to create value. Does it contribute to your goals?
Right.
Or does it not? And honestly, rest contributes to your goals. So allocating some time for rest, even if you put rest, even if it is like you're going down the rabbit hole, but at least it's within this 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
if you have it, it's like with anything, it's in moderation.
exactly.
Okay. If I take a 5-minute break to watch a bunch of Insta reels, then I take a 5-minute break to watch a bunch of Insta reels. That's no different than me taking a 5-minute break and scrolling through photos of my son when he was a toddler because I want to see him in all his Halloween costumes.
Exactly. Exactly. Rest is good. Whenever time you put for rest, and I mean like be honest that you're actually resting, not like being lazy. There's a difference. Put in like definitely put rest because rest will always contribute to your goals as long as it's like actual rest. The way I rest is, you want to guess, Katie?
Well, besides coloring,
That's not how I rest.
That's not how you rest.
That's how I process my emotions when I don't know what they are.
I had a 50-50 shot. I had a 50-50 shot. I don't know. How do you rest?
I actually play video games.
You know what? That can be very restful at times.
Yeah.
And I say at times because it depends as to the competition level
Oh,
of the video game. For me, it depends on the competition level. If it's a let me just take my time and enjoy the story kind of game, then I'm fine. But if it's a you have 3 minutes to solve this mission, otherwise you die kind of situation, yeah, no, I do not do well with those games. I do not relax with those games.
I actually play League of Legends. So
Of course you do.
if anybody knows what this game is, they've created a phone version, right? So it's the perfect way for me to rest for maybe an hour to put in 1, 2, maybe 4 games. Who knows? Depending on
Who knows? Depends on the game.
depends on the game. But yeah, no, it's not one of those rest relax games. Like, do you see this?
Yes, I see the graphics on that.
Like,
That
look
is
at
not
this.
one that's not one that I could rest and relax to.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ones that are actually just listening, if you add this app onto your phone called League of Legends, well, you'll see the graphics. Um, I used to play in college, and I didn't realize college isn't always easy. I know that.
Yeah.
But the one that I went to, I didn't realize how easy it was for me at the time, because I went to a high school that really, really like upped the level on our
On preparing you for college.
preparing us for college. Like, I remember taking an AP Euro course in high school, and we asked somebody from Cornell, like, which is like the most work that you could possibly get at an Ivy League, what's the workload like? And the girl was, she was like, it's the same as this class. Don't worry about it. I'm like, what? Like, and then I went to college, and I was so well conditioned that, like, I finished everything. I still don't understand how I got the GPA I got, but I finished everything. And I was still able to play maybe 12 to 16 hours of League of Legends, like once or twice a week. Like, it was, yeah.
You know what? And I joke, I tease my son about the fact that he's got not only one video gaming console. I think he's got 3 in his dorm, not mentioning what he can play on his computer. But I understand it's his way of decompressing.
Yeah.
I leave him alone because I know that, yeah, he might get on there and play for a couple of hours. But I also know that when his brain calms down, because he's able to not think of anything while he's playing video games, because it's pretty much muscle memory for him as to what button you push to jump. It's a way for him to decompress his thought process, so then that way he can focus on whatever assignment he needs to focus on. Me, not so much. But then again, I have a completely different brain than my son does, and I am so glad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Your son and I have like so for me, if I get really pissed, what I will do to rest and like not aggressively take it out on the person and like a person is I will be like, hold, go play. I will actually play League of Legends, take out all my. I got into a fight with somebody once, and it was like a 4-day fight. And I just remember telling the person,
give me a minute.
I don't want to respond to you haphazardly. Can I get back to you in a couple, like maybe a week or so, if that's okay? Person's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, thank you.
You spent a week playing video games.
I had so many kills in that game. It was great. Like, I literally hit the MVP each time because I was that mad, and I was trying to process what was under the anger. It was
and here's me, that if you look at my phone, the app that I open the most is one of these tap color Tap Color Pro apps where it's one of those paint by number things. Wait a minute, it's loading. It's there we go. See?
Oh, it's
calm, relax, focus.
Look, okay, that's nice. See, when I color processing, those are the calm emotions. Like I don't know what I'm processing yet. Might be sadness. I'm not sure. Let's get some blues out. But when I'm mad, it's just like, all right, let's play some aggressive video games so that I can.
Maybe that's what I need to do is do aggressive video gaming instead of just let me calm down by trying to paint with as many different shades of blue as I can. Who knows? Who knows?
There you go, ladies.
That's the beauty of learning what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and just holding space for someone to do whatever the heck it is that they need to do to process. One of the best examples that I can give was, I'm telling on my husband right now. When he and I get into a misunderstanding, or we'll just call it what it is, when we get into an argument and he doesn't want to talk about it, he watches a movie. That's how he decompresses.
That's fine. Yeah.
And so when he's watching Back to the Future, any Michael J. Fox movie, I know to leave him alone. All I have to do is go walk in the living room. What's on the TV? Michael J. Fox. Okay, I'm not going to talk to you today. And I just it's not always the case, but I tease him about it because he loves Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, well, I get that. Like, you'll know if I'm in the mode. Like, I have like 10 to 15 comfort movies that I go to whenever I'm stressed, feeling misunderstood. I actually have these movies when I'm about to when I know I'm about to like break through something in my life. I have that movie to calm me down, which is Frozen 2.
Good movie. Very good movie for breaking through.
Right? Frozen 2. For Maleficent and Maleficent 2 and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. A peregrine is a specific type of, air quotes, peculiar in this film, where the ability is to turn into a bird. And
she turns into a peregrine falcon.
Yeah.
And I think I'm still saying that wrong, so I apologize.
No, I think Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. That is also another movie that I watch to help me with feeling misunderstood. When I feel powerless, I'll actually watch.
Ooh, wait for it.
Yeah, I'll watch Sucker Punch.
I actually have not seen that. I've seen the previews and it looks hysterical.
Yeah, because it was basically marketed and publicized and advertised as Pretty Women and guns and possibly video games.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not what it is. Like, when you watch this thing,
I think the trailer shows it off as it being just chicks with guns.
And like, you're in for a funny ride when you jump in that way. Like, if you if you've ever, I read the comments once, I think in some blog, and this one woman, my heart goes out to her. She was like, I watched this movie and it helped me fight through an abusive relationship.
Talk about empowerment.
Yes. So in the movie, it is very like trippy, don't get me wrong. You're like going through different stages of somebody's imagination as they're coping through the death of like their mother and their sister, and the abuse slash patriotism of their stepfather. Like, it's very deep. And the thing about this film is it drops in these beautiful, empowering philosophical quotes as you're watching it that bring you to a place where you're like, that's where my power is. It's in me. I'm taking back control of my life. And that is actually the curvature of the entire film itself. If it was publicized like that, I don't think people would have really understood.
People might not have gone to see it because it's
Exactly.
not very often that I've ever seen a movie advertised for the philosophical standpoint of it. They're always advertising it for the standpoint as to the action, the comedy, the romance, whatever. Not that you're actually going to learn a life lesson from it.
It wasn't comedic. Yeah, exactly. Like you said, it looked hilarious. I'm like, that's not what you're gonna get.
To me, it looked hilarious, but then again, I have a very odd, strange sense of humor when it comes to movies.
It was actually one of my favorite films when I was in college, and I didn't know why. I just remember that it was empowering for some reason, and it took me years to really keep watching it to understand why. We don't remember the exact thing that happens or the exact words that have been said, right? We just remember how we felt. So, like, yeah.
It is. So, and that's really funny because I have not watched a lot of TV or a lot of movies these last like 3 years, but we've always had movies going on in the background of my house because my husband's a movie buff. He likes to watch movies. But for me, it's usually when I don't feel well, like when I was sick with COVID. Oh my God. All I wanted to do was curl up and watch the same movies that I watched when I was homesick when I was a kid, which means it was my mom's musical VHS collection. So it was Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra, Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly. So those are my go-to movies when I need to feel better, is reliving my childhood through watching movies that were made way before I was born.
But those are like the types of like The Sound of Music to me is still iconic. I remember those VHS tapes. I didn't know there was a second one, but
there are some movies that there just should not be sequels, and I'm just gonna leave
No. There wasn't a second because the movie was so long. It had a second VHS tape.
Oh, yes, because there was a part 1 and a part 2. Now I understand what you're saying. Yes, I used to love the fact that some of these older classic movies like Cleopatra, Ben-Hur, 10 Commandments, Lawrence of Arabia, they were so long that they actually built an intermission in the middle of the movie so people could get up and go to the restroom and then come back and finish watching the movie in the movie theater. And they don't do that now. I think what was it? The Avatar movie rivals in length as these classic movies, and there's no intermission.
Wow. Yeah, or like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings movie, no intermission.
Intermissions. Which, by the way, if you watch the second movie on the Twin Towers, right? If you watch it, the extended edition on HBO Max,
right?
It is so funny. Like, it actually, like, you know how the movies are usually just really like intense, it's war, you're going with elves, yeah, it's like very intense, right? You watch the second film and there are little bits where Merry and Pippin have like funny run-ins in the forest, and you're just like, or in the forest, or at the end of one of the films they get high. Like, it is so funny.
They're the comedic relief that they had to cut to get it within a certain time length for it to be in the theaters. But we can watch all the extended video stuff now when it's streaming home, and we can pause it when we need to.
Exactly. And yeah, talk about rest. So on that note, we will take a rest here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our talk this week, and I hope bits and pieces were able to empower you throughout your week so you could make the most of it as well. Mwah. Love you all.
Mwah. Take care.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.